Hey there, HorseCenter fans. Matt and I are back with another exciting edition of the show. Matt, we're talking what happened last week, Kentucky Derby, Kentucky Oaks, but we're also talking about the Preakness.
In this new Triple Crown of the COVID 2020 year. What a year it has been, Brian. But we got about a month and then the Preakness.
The Preakness is coming at the beginning of October. The Queen's Plate, biggest race in Canada for three-year-olds, is coming this weekend. Watch it all right now on HorseCenter. Welcome to another edition of HorseCenter, everyone. I am Brian Zipsy, and as always, I have the great pleasure of being joined by my co-host to the East Coast. That's Matt Shipman. How are you today, Matt?
I am good, Brian. I can't believe that it's after Labor Day, and we just ran the Kentucky Derby, and we still have the Preakness to talk about.
Yeah, well, let's start with the Kentucky Derby, Matt. I was wrong. I didn't think Authentic really wanted a mile and a quarter. I was on Tis the Law and Honor AP. I don't think either of them ran a bad race in the Kentucky Derby by any means, but Authentic was best in the Kentucky Derby. Surprised me.
Brian, I didn't think Authentic could get the mile and a quarter in the Kentucky Derby, but I was wrong. Things certainly went the way of Authentic in the Derby without a question. He ran a great race. It was a fast time. It was the first time since, I think, War Emblem back in 2002 that the winner of the Derby went on the front end. He went in what turned out to be fast fractions, time-wise, 22 and change, 46 and change, 110 and change, and a final time of 2 minutes and change. Those historically are fast times. The speed figures, on the other hand, did not turn out to be exceptionally high, turned out to be fairly typical for the Derby, which is an indication that the track was playing fast on that day.
Yeah, absolutely. The track was certainly fast on Friday and Saturday at Churchill Downs. We saw lots of big times. I thought it was a fair track, though, Matt. It wasn't one of those speed crazy tracks. We had horses coming from off the pace. We had horses coming from on or near the lead. So it was a fair track. I think there were a few key scratches. In fact, in our pace projection the week before, we identified 3 that we really thought would be out there on the lead. 2 of them were scratched. We should have known then when Art Collector and King Guillermo were scratched out. The other 2 we had up there on the lead with Authentic, that Authentic would be tough. But I want to give a lot of credit to the horse. He ran a big race, as you say. I also want to give a lot of credit to the jockey. I thought Johnny V, John Velasquez, that veteran rider who's won so many races, was really, really good in putting Authentic in perfect position. He pushed just enough first time in front of the stretch to get where he wanted to, cut over in front of Tis the Law, and then you could see Johnny V trying to slow him down just a little bit, just enough so he'd have something left in the stretch. And boy, did he measure that out well, because when Tis the Law came to him at the head of the stretch, I think most people thought Tis the Law was going to go right by, as he's done so many times. Hey, Tis the Law, you can't blame Manny Franco. Manny Franco had Tis the Law where he's been in all these big wins. But Authentic turned away the challenge here, and Authentic was the winner. Big props to Johnny V.
Yeah, I agree. It was a Hall of Fame performance from a Hall of Famer, Johnny V. Just an absolutely fantastic ride, giving Johnny V his 3rd Kentucky Derby win, which puts him really in elite company. Like you said, Brian, he got Authentic to the lead fairly quickly, but it all happened easily. He was not scrubbing away on Authentic or rushing him in any way. He let the horse do it in the way that Authentic wanted to do it, got position, saved ground, let him relax and get into an easy stride. Johnny V got Authentic right where it was, and everything went away. Turning for home at the 8th pole, Authentic was in the lead, and historically, in Derby, the horse that is in that position usually wins the race.
That's it. And it now opens up a very interesting race for 3-year-old championship. Authentic has the head-to-head, has the Kentucky Derby over Tiz the Law. I think Tiz the Law has been overall more impressive this year in his resume of races, and Tiz the Law has more Grade 1 wins than Authentic this year, but Authentic's record, just like Tiz the Law, is absolutely excellent with only a small blemish on it so far. I think three other horses ran good races in the Kentucky Derby. Not good enough, though. Mr. Big News was the long shot who ran. And, the one thing I liked about him was the distance. I knew he was bred to run long, but he was ready to run, made a nice move. On the other hand, Tiz the Law, Honor AP, you get that excuse. Well, they didn't really get a hold of the track. Okay. Tiz the Law put himself in perfect position, just wasn't good enough on this day to get by Authentic. Honor AP, I didn't like the trip he got, kind of checked at the start, farther back than I ever dreamed he would be. And then when he was running on the turn, he went 9 or 10 wide, which effectively ended any chance he had. I think all four of them ran good races, but Authentic was best.
Yeah, Brian, our old friend, Mr. Big News, and I apologize, fans. I remember in our last show before the Derby, I said, I just can't go back to Mr. Big News again. Well, that was another mistake by me, because interestingly, and we talk about the wagering opportunities in the Derby, the Derby trifecta with the third choice, that was Authentic, narrowly the third choice, on top of the big favorite Tiz the Law, with Mr. Big News, who went off at 46-1. That trifecta for 50 cents still paid $655. You just got to find that right long shot to get in there, and even extending it more with the super, Brian, the 10-cent super, when you throw Honor AP into the top four, who was the second choice. Now you got the top three choices in the super with Mr. Big News, the long shot, and for a dime, that super almost paid $800, and it was only a field of 15.
Not bad money if you can get it. We didn't get it. Luckily, Matt, there was the Kentucky Oaks the day before for me to win a little bit of money. She Dares the Devil pulled off the upset in the Kentucky Oaks. Brad Cox clearly has this daughter of Daredevil going in the right direction now. She's run 3 straight big races in a row, and this was by far the biggest. Collaring Gamine, chasing, collaring, putting her away, and then having plenty left enough to hold off the other Daredevil, Swiss Skydiver, in a big Kentucky Oaks win. And that was a very fast time as well, Matt.
Yeah, it was. And that was certainly one of the indications from the day before about the way the track was playing. A huge performance, the magic of Brad Cox showing up in the Oaks for She Dares the Devil, who cranked out a speed figure far, far above anything that she had done, even in her wins in the Indiana Oaks and the Honeybee earlier in the year. But she ran a great race, sat behind Gamine, who came up empty, frankly, down the stretch, and then held off a very, very game Swiss Skydiver after a long campaign. Hats off to that performance also.
Yeah, Swiss Skydiver ran a heck of a good race after all those tough races already this year. 8 different tracks in 8 races for Swiss Skydiver. Second in the Kentucky Oaks. She might still be the leader of the division, but now She Dares the Devil certainly joins in the fray among the 3-year-old fillies. So we'll see where that division goes the rest of the year, Matt. By My Standards was a nice winner. Monomoy Girl was a nice winner. A lot of good performances at Churchill Downs, but the biggest star was Authentic, followed by She Dares the Devil. Congratulations to both of them, Matt. And with Authentic's big win in the Kentucky Derby, we can start talking about the Preakness now. The Preakness, the first Saturday of October version of the Preakness. And folks, we have 12 horses listed here on our Preakness Probables list right now. And you'll notice that Tiz the Law is on that list. What I'm hearing from the Tiz the Law camp, Matt, is that Barclay Tagg probably would like to skip the Preakness and go ahead and wait for the Breeders' Cup Classic. But the ownership, led by Jack Knowlton of Sakatoga Stable, is more interested than that in running in the Preakness. So usually when it's an owner-trainer thing, the owner comes out and wins it. If Tiz the Law is doing really well, we'd like to see him in the Preakness, but that one is still in question. If he is in the Preakness, I think you have two horses, two viable favorites in the Kentucky Derby winner and the Kentucky Derby runner-up meeting again in the Preakness.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. It would be great to have that rematch down in Baltimore. I'm a little dubious, though, even if there's some head knocking between the owners and Barclay Tagg. I have a feeling that Mr. Tagg will prevail in that kind of thing. And quite frankly, to me, it makes sense that he get a little time off in the skipping the Preakness, because even though he hasn't had races that whole time, he's been in training every week for almost this entire year. So I think a little breather heading into the Classic, which he would have a viable chance to win, makes sense to me.
Yeah, I don't think he'll have the breather of the way you laid it out, because he's still be in training for the Breeders' Cup Classic. He's only had 5 races this year, Matt, and I think the Preakness probably will decide the 3-year-old Eclipse Award. So I certainly think that it's a big race, an important race, and one that they want to win. They don't want Authentic to win 2/3 of the Triple Crown. So I have a feeling, opposite of yours, that Sakatoga Stable will win out, Jack Milton will win out, and we will see a rematch in the Preakness. Authentic probably will be the favorite. I'm not sure if Tiz the Law is in there, if he'll be the favorite, but it'll be close. But I guess he could be the favorite off that Kentucky Derby win. Tiz the Law will be right there. If Tiz the Law is not in it, certainly Art Collector looks like the next one to be the second choice.
Yeah, that's for sure. And hopefully Art Collector will make it back, riding that win streak. We were looking forward to seeing what he could do in the Derby. So, he deserves his shot on the big stage in the Preakness. 1,000 Words from the Bob Baffert barn, 1,000 Words, who freaked out in the paddock before the race and had to be scratched, is scheduled to come back. King Guillermo is scheduled to come back. So all of those horses that we talked about who suddenly right in the last week didn't make it into the Derby are supposed to be back, which will make it an exciting race, along with a handful of new shooters.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think it's an interesting race, again, especially if we get Tiz the Law, because Art Collector certainly was looking awfully good heading into the Derby. He had a very minor heel issue the week of the Derby, and he probably will be 100% ready to run at Pimlico, mile 3/16, and he's got the kind of speed to pressure Authentic early. That makes for a very interesting matchup as well. Let's talk about 1,000 Words a little bit. Yeah, he reared up and flipped over a little bit on his side there. They said he had absolutely 0 scratches, but he was a horse getting better heading into the Kentucky Derby, and he's a horse I think that could lay not too far off the lead. So 1,000 Words, the winner, you'll remember, Matt, he upset Honore P in the Shared Belief at Del Mar in that previous race. I think he is a horse to watch out for. But you're right, the scratches will make this an interesting Preakness. The scratches, all those scratches, late scratches out of the Kentucky Derby, coming to Pimlico for the Preakness, make this Preakness a heck of a lot more interesting than it could have been otherwise.
Yeah, because we're talking about these horses that had the potential speed in the race and will have that in the Preakness. So, I mean, we'll wait. It's a month until then, and we'll talk about the pace scenario then and see who is actually going to make it into the field. There's also the horse from Woodbine, Cheryl Spite, 2 for 2. Also a horse that has the potential to be a speed influence that's also supposed to come back.
Yeah, Cheryl Spite is a very interesting horse to me, and now more so. He's had a little bit more time, and now he's getting a mile 3/16 instead of a mile and a quarter. So I'm more interested in Cheryl Spite in the Preakness than I would have been in the Derby. In the Derby, I thought he might be that horse that makes that middle move to announce himself after a mile in the Kentucky Derby. Maybe comes up a little short. Maybe he becomes more of a danger in the Preakness with a little bit more time to mature, 1/16 of a mile shorter in a smaller field, because I think the son of Speightstown is a real real big talent coming out of Canada. You can see those string of workouts that he runs, either whether it be on dirt or taffeta up there. He's already won on turf. And he's a nice stakes winner in his second start. So Cheryl Spite's a horse I'm watching quite a bit. Another one is Happy Saver, Matt. Happy Saver out of the Todd Pletcher barn has emerged probably with Dr. Post's failure in the Jim Dandy as Pletcher's top 3-year-old. Happy Saver really looked good winning a sprint first time out. And then these last 2 races, both at 1.125 miles, by the way, which should get him ready for the Preakness. He looked almost like he was just floundering. I don't want to say floundering, but just not kicking it in high gear early. But then as they went down the lane, they went farther and farther down the lane. Happy Saver really did keep on going and ultimately overwhelm his competition, whether it was the Saratoga Allowance or the recent Federico Tessio at Laurel Park. So Happy Saver, another interesting horse.
Yeah, son of Super Saver. And like you said, Brian, pretty relaxed early in the race, and then did his best running at the end when it counts. And historically, Pletcher has done pretty well with making the move, skipping the Derby with some horses and coming back in the Preakness.
Preakness or the Belmont for Pletcher. Yeah, this could be one to do that. Yeah, again, you got King Guillermo, who hasn't raced in so long, but obviously very talented. Mystic Guide is a horse I thought was going to be good earlier in the year. He kind of disappointed me a little bit with a second in a strong allowance race at Belmont and then a third in the Peter Pan. But they put blinkers on for the Jim Dandy, and obviously that got him a little bit more involved earlier in the race. Nice Peter Pan win where he easily held off Live Your Beast Life to win the Jim Dandy on Kentucky Derby Day. So I think Mystic Guide is another up-and-comer. You've got Pneumatic coming out of a stakes win at Monmouth. I think Lebda and the winner out in Western Canada, Mongolian Wind, will be big long shots. But besides Authentic and possibly Tis the Law, you have a lot of interesting horses in here, Matt.
You certainly do. And you've got a lot of horses that have already run speed figures that put them in the hunt and make them reasonable choices to win the Preakness. And then you've got a bunch of horses that only need to improve a little bit to get up into that level where they could become Preakness winners. So maybe more than a lot of other years, we got a potential very big field and an interesting mix of horses. And let's hope that in a month's time, they're all in the starting gate.
That's right. And whether we have Tis the Law or not, obviously we have Tis the Law really looking like a great Preakness. But even if we don't have Tis the Law, I think it's a dangerous race for the Kentucky Derby winner. I'll probably, yes, folks, I will probably pick against Authentic again. But I think an Art Collector, 1,000 Words, King Guillermo, Happy Saver, Mystic Guide, Cheryl Spite, I think there are a lot of interesting horses to try to beat the Derby winner. That's something that I generally do too much, is try to beat the favorite. But let's hope that Tis the Law goes and we have a rematch of the top 2 from the Kentucky Derby. Now, before we call it a show, I really do want to look at that Queen's Plate, which is Saturday. Now, usually this is early summer. This year, it's the end of the summer, but it's Canada's most prestigious race. It's their biggest race for 3-year-olds. It's their Kentucky Derby. It's restricted to horses bred in Canada, but it really is a race that I believe it's over 160 years now they've been running the Queen's Plate up in Canada, and I think it's a nice field. It's a big field of 14 for the Queen's Plate, and I'm a little bit excited about Clayton. He was listed as the morning line favorite, the son of Bodemeister, but I wonder if he'll be the favorite or the filly. Curlin's Voyage will be the favorite. Clayton is a good-looking son of Bodemeister. He romped in his only race last year. He romped in his second race back this year. I thought he was very green in winning the plate trial. He beat some good horses in the plate trial while being green. I expect Clayton to move forward, and I think he's a really nice-looking horse.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the Canadian Triple Crown is kind of a cool thing. It's a little bit different than our Triple Crown here because it does 3 races on 3 different tracks, but it also does three different surfaces, and that certainly makes their Triple Crown a really interesting thing. It starts out on the Tapeta in the Queen's Plate at Woodbine, and it goes on to the dirt at Fort Erie, and then it goes back to and finishes up on the grass. So it sounds like a daunting task, but there are a number of recent horses who have done it. And you mentioned a filly in this year in Curlin's Voyage. Fillies have been very successful in the Queen's Plate as of late. I think 3 of the last 6 years have been won by fillies.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, Woodbine hosts 2/3 of this, and it really is a great series, and it's an unusual series, as you say, with 3 different surfaces. Curlin's Voyage has been terrific. She's a 4-time stakes winner. With COVID, there's been a little less travel, perhaps, out of some of these horses. So Clayton Curlin's Voyage have never run anywhere but Woodbine, but they are legitimate-looking 3-year-olds, a colt and a filly. Curlin's Voyage, of course, out of Curlin. So you got a Bodie-Meister against a Curlin in there. For American race fans, but Curlin's Voyage was terrific last time in rallying to win the Woodbine Oaks, and she's much more experienced than Clayton. I prefer Clayton. I could see the filly being the favorite. It'll be interesting to see who the favorite is, but I got some long shots too, Matt. I can't throw out the other filly in the race. I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation of her name, Mervalou. She rallied well to be 3rd last time in the Woodbine Oaks. I think she's got a shot. But then I got a couple of horses coming out of maiden races. In fact, the same maiden race. They're just bred to run long, and I think might be getting good at the right time. So I'm going to throw in Ali, My Boy, as my top long shot, 30-1 on the morning line. And I think Belichick, a maiden, 0 for 2. But the son of Lemon Drop Kid out of a Monjou mare is going to love 1.25 miles. And he showed me enough in his first 2 races to think he's got a shot. He's 30-1 on the morning line. I think he could be even longer. So I got some long ones to throw in with my top pick of Clayton.
Yeah, fair enough, Brian. And also we should note that the top 4 finishers from the major prep for the Queen's Plate, called the Queen's Plate Trial, the top 4 are in this race, and it includes a horse from Steve Asmussen, Halo Again, who finished 2nd in the Queen's Plate Trial, that has gotten really good since moving up to run on that surface at Woodbine. He made a little bit of a brief appearance on our Triple Crown Trail back in the spring, but now has won 2 out of 3 starts at Woodbine.
Yeah, Hello Again should be a clear 3rd choice over the horse he just edged out in the plate trial for 2nd, dotted line. But Halo Again broke his maiden first out at Churchill last fall. So a horse American race fans know from a couple stakes, as you mentioned early this year. I'm not sure. This is going to sound familiar, folks. I'm not sure if Halo Again wants 1.25 miles. You remember I said that about Authentic, so take that into account. And he'll be the 3rd choice. Boy, this is almost sounding eerie now, Matt. But I will not be playing Halo Again in this Queen's Plate, just like I didn't play Authentic in the Kentucky Derby. Oh boy. Should be a good race, though. Check it out, the Queen's Plate. Like I said, it is truly Canada's Kentucky Derby up there. So that's their big race this weekend, Saturday at Woodbine. Matt, Authentic, we were dead wrong. We did have She Dares the Devil a little bit in the Oaks. Yep. Good races, though, at Churchill. Lots of good performances. I want to throw a shout-out to Serengeti Empress for, again, running 43 and change on the lead and, again, being dead game, even though she lost a wild bobbing finish where she was actually, I think, coming back at the horse that rallied up to her in the last 20 yards. A big performance in a losing effort for Serengeti Empress. What's your parting shot on this post-Derby Preakness edition of HorseCenter?
Wow, well said, Brian. That was a mouthful. Hey, I want to thank all of our HorseCenter fans and everybody that watched our Derby shows. Hey, in these crazy times, you can always count on Brian and I to be back every week on HorseCenter. And thanks everybody for watching. And of course, I want to thank our great producer, Brett Workman, for putting together this show.
Yeah, right or wrong, Matt and I love the sport. We watch it all the time, and we try to give you the best information possible. Sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong. Sorry about Authentic, folks. Thanks for watching. Hey, if you haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel here on Horse Racing Nation, please do so now. I also want to thank our wonderful sponsor, the best contest site out there. That's Derby Wars. Next week, Matt and I will be right back here with another edition of HorseCenter. We'll see you then.